If his silence feels loud, that's because it is. When a man goes quiet, he is still saying something, and deep down you can feel the change before you can explain it. Silence is not empty. Silence is loaded. So let's decode what he will never say out loud. But here's the truth. Sometimes his silence means life is crushing him, not that you did something wrong. Men are often taught to disappear when they feel pressure. Stress at work, money fear, family problems, it all piles up fast. And instead of saying, "I'm overwhelmed," he says nothing. Because silence feels safer than looking weak. Pay attention to this. If he goes quiet after a hard day, this may be shutdown, not rejection. He sees your message, wants to answer, then freezes. Not because he does not care, but because his mind is underwater. And now it gets deeper. Sometimes his silence means he is unsure about his feelings. This is where it gets interesting. He likes you, but he does not know how much. He feels close, then scared, then close again. That inner conflict makes him pull back. He stops talking because talking makes it more real. And real feelings can feel dangerous. Think of the guy who texts all week, then disappears after one intimate date. The date was good. That is exactly why he got quiet. He is not always bored. Sometimes he is rattled. But here's the part nobody says. Unclear men create loud silence because they are fighting themselves. And while he is confused, you feel abandoned. That is why silence can hurt more than an honest no. But there is another reason. Sometimes his silence means he wants to avoid conflict. Men who hate drama often go quiet instead of speaking up. They fear one hard talk will explode into 10 harder talks. So they stall, delay, and vanish for a bit. Pay attention to this. Silence can be a shield against uncomfortable truth. Maybe he knows he disappointed you. Maybe he knows you want more than he can give. But saying that out loud would force a real conversation. So he chooses the cheap escape. Read that again. He stays quiet because he wants relief, not resolution. Picture this. You ask, "Are we okay?" and he says, "I've been busy," then disappears again? That is not confusion, that is avoidance. And avoidance feels calm for him, but chaos for you. This is where it gets painful. Because you start overthinking to fill in the blank. You replay every text, every tone, every pause. His silence saves him from discomfort, but it hands the discomfort to you. And yes, that tells you something important. If he cannot face a simple conversation, he cannot hold a deep connection. Silence like that is not a mystery, it is immaturity. And you should hear that clearly. Now let's go even deeper. Sometimes his silence is tied to shame. A lot of men go quiet when they feel small. Not small in ego, small inside. He may feel he is failing in life, love, or both. And when a man feels inadequate, he hides. Because being seen while struggling feels unbearable. So instead of saying, "I don't feel good enough," he withdraws. He goes missing right when closeness asks him to show up. But here's the truth. Shame makes people isolate from the very person they want comfort from. Maybe he lost money, missed a goal, or feels behind in life. then your warmth starts to feel like pressure. Not because you are too much, because your care reminds him of what he thinks he cannot be. This is where it gets interesting. The quiet guy is not always cold. Sometimes he is embarrassed to be seen without armor, and silence becomes his hiding place. But not all silence is wounded silence. Sometimes his silence is about control. Pay attention to this. He pulls back to feel the power shift. He knows when he goes quiet, you notice. He knows silence can make you chase, explain, and overgive. For some men, that feels like proof they still have the upper hand. It is not always planned in a clever way, but it is still a move. Think about the man who replies less right after you get more invested. He feels your attachment, then tests his leverage. He wants to see if you will shrink your needs to keep him. Read that again. Silence can be a tool, not just a mood. And when silence is used like that, it trains you to accept less. This matters more than you think, because once you start chasing breadcrumbs, the pattern gets stronger. You text longer, he replies shorter. You ask for clarity, he gives just enough to keep the door open, and the cycle keeps feeding itself. But here's the truth. Some men stay quiet because they want options, not intimacy. Silence lets them delay decisions without losing access to you. No breakup, no commitment, just fog. And fog is useful when someone wants benefits without responsibility. Picture the man who disappears all weekend, then comes back with, "Hey, stranger." That tiny message resets hope without offering security. This is where it gets painful. He is not building a bond. He is maintaining availability. And silence is the space where that strategy lives. Now for the hardest one. Sometimes his silence means he is emotionally checking out. Pay attention to this. Not every quiet man is overwhelmed, confused, or ashamed. Sometimes he already knows he is done. He just does not want to say it directly. So he grows distant in pieces. Fewer texts, flatter tone, less curiosity, less effort. He stops repairing after tension. And that quiet shift tells the truth before words do. So what does all this mean for you? Do not chase silence and call it love. Listen to patterns, not pretty words. The right person may need space, but they will still bring clarity. And if this helped you see the truth, stay with me for the next one.